adversity, bring it. The struggle, I welcome it. Snooze on life, never there. I am Dave Regina, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on. Welcome back, No Snooze Podcast, episode 176. As always, this is a great feeling.
Not as always.
I am in the booth with the OG three, the big three, Michael, the show, Parelli. We have Claudio, the voice, Valenzuela, and I am Dave, the excited body, Regina. I am excited today. I am ecstatic. I have my brother next to me. The OG3 is in the booth, as always. Welcome back to the show, Michael Parelli.
Thank you for having me. I've been watching this thing go up like a rocket, and it's just nice to be able to come and see all the excitement again.
Oh, my God. So we were just talking off air, and Mike said something that I can't stop laughing about. He was like, you know the kid with the ankle weights? Explain that one.
No, I was just saying, listen, I was like a kid, and you guys were the balloons, and then when I let go, all of a sudden you guys are going up to the sky. So I'm happy for you guys, just like I drew it up, you know, timing wise. I stepped aside so you guys could really take off, and I'm proud of you guys. I'm happy for you, and it's good to be back. When you said, hey, do you want to jump in the booth? I'm not gonna lie, I was like, I don't know if I can still do it. Like, this is a muscle that I haven't exercised in. When was it? That was a while ago.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 months ago. Yeah, for those of you guys who don't know, Michael the show Parelli, because we do have some new listeners now.
You got a lot of new listeners, David. Apparently, a lot of people.
New audience.
Yeah.
So if you haven't listened, Michael was the original co-host with me for the first 155 episodes.
Yeah.
We've been together. We've been best friends since we were 15 years old, and we started this journey together. And then, you know, Mike recently, over the past, what is this, year 2 now of your business?
Yeah, sophomore year.
He's in his sophomore year of building out Mike Parelli Greenwich Real Estate. He's got 2 young kids, wife at home as well. Shout out to Dana Parelli.
Yep, the Rock.
Not
the literal Rock,
the boulder,
you know
if you will, of the family.
Not the
boulder
rock.
Of the family.
Yeah. She doesn't look like the Rock. Let's be clear. A lot more petite.
So no, man, it's been a great journey. But just recently, 4 or 5 months ago, you know, Mike said, "Listen, I got to refocus my energy." And, you know, you got to conserve energy. You got 2 young kids at home. You got the wife, you know, building out this company. So I really respect, you know, you for obviously coming and just having the honest conversation of like, you know, listen, I wish you guys the best. Keep it going. Yeah. And you've been supportive, man. So I thank you. And I miss you. I will say that.
I appreciate it. And I'm happy to support and follow. You know, at the time, it was a very tough decision because we worked very hard for a long time. And I know you guys are still working hard. But to be able to let go, it was like Air Bud. You know, in the end of Air Bud, you're not a movie guy.
I've seen Air Bud.
Here we go.
The golden
not a
retriever.
movie guy.
The golden retriever.
Yeah, you know, when he's like, go get. I felt like that. So
Wow.
you guys were Air Bud. I'm like, I got to let him fly. Like, I'm not a part of the next chapter, but I believe in the book. So you got to step away and enjoy and watch it and, you know, be a fan from afar.
You will always be a part of No Snooze and what we've built, my brother.
Whenever there's like a live show or something, I'm going to be the one who calls in. Hey, long fan here. You know, been listening since the beginning. I got a bone to pick. Where's that mic guy?
This is great, though. We got to actually do this every couple months. And you know
let's not get crazy, all right?
Every couple months.
Let's not get crazy.
No, you can't do this?
No, I mean, apparently you're getting all these big guests.
You can't.
I would like, was there a bonus or something? What are we talking here?
Man, come on.
Maybe a free steak? Talk to all your food guys? Tell Tony Peck, like, let's get some free cigars in here. Like some.
Let's get it. Oh, you know, since you've gone, we've got some really good chairs now.
All right. As soon as I leave, they're like, all right, let's get comfortable chairs. Let's get a cool boom mic. Like, they upgraded everything. And then CV has the audacity to say, do you want your chairs back? No, you sucked all the life out of these poor chairs and wrung them dry. And then you're like, here, take them back.
And they got creaky, man. Like, we were trying to really hold out.
Think about your guests. You're huge. You know, you got big, bold men who lit. Like, you got all guys that work out sitting on these poor little chairs.
Oh, my God.
And these are nice. Times are good, huh?
I know. Listen, well, this was an Amazon purchase. CV was like, Dave, you know, you ready to cut that bill for,
Yeah.
you know, so
Smart
shout
man.
out to Prolon, right?
Attaboy.
For bringing in the money
Yeah.
to purchase these
Prolon
chairs.
was the
fasting.
The fasting.
I haven't
thing.
been fasting.
Are you still
if
doing
will.
it?
I mean, I haven't been fasting if you.
Listen, I was getting ready to get literally just set on fire by you guys by how I walked in today. But
What are we talking body wise?
are we talking
15%?
Well, all right. Another bone to pick.
25?
AC, right? You're my guy. AC, you're my guy. If you post me with abs one more time, I get it. Whore me out, get business. I'm all for it. But if I got to see it and you tag me and you remind me of how far I've fallen, no. In all seriousness, it's a balancing act, right?
Mhm.
I don't feel unhealthy. I know there's.
I don't feel healthy.
I don't. So year one in the real estate game was survival. Like, see, can I do it? Right? Like, didn't have the full confidence. Was taking on properties and be like, I was a little more nervous and anxious than I was the past 10 years.
Are you saying year one of you having your own business?
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there was a level of like anxiety and stress that it was unfamiliar because I hadn't felt that since I started in real estate. And now that you're like off on your own, you feel like instead of being behind like this, you know, if you were going on an island, you had people on the island, it's you on an island.
Yep.
You're like, all right, how the hell do I get off this island? Right. So like year one was a lot of like trying to build the confidence up. Can I do it? Can I prove to myself that it was the right choice? And now year two, I really am starting to brace like, all right, well, you know, if someone wants to go have lunch with me that's a client, I'm going to go have lunch with them. I'm not going to say no. Yes, you can be more controlled and like, you know, get salads or whatever. But at the same time, there's a time and place to tighten up. And year two, being sophomore year is not a
not a tighten up year.
Not a tighten up year. I'm trying not to be as extreme with everything and find some type of like balance where maybe I'm healthy and I don't have a six pack, right?
That's me.
Do you have a six pack? No?
It's an illusion, if you will. I think
I love a good illusion.
It's an illusion for sure.
Yeah.
I think I have like a solid 4, sometimes 5. But
Okay.
never really 6.
Yeah. I mean, I
look
don't know how
close.
it's possible to have 5.
I'm
but
serious.
You
I
have
believe
5
you.
and not 6.
I'm being serious. I have like 1 at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's like one long one that
Yeah.
goes across,
Yeah.
and then like like the 4 up top.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's an illusion, man. You know,
Yeah.
that's all it
But
is.
it's I find the balance is fun. I enjoy the kids are, I tell you, my schedule completely switched since we last talked. Like I haven't woke up
Wait, you had a schedule?
willingly before 5 since I don't know, maybe last year because it's just so I was getting so frustrated that it was never worth it because you get up and the kids would be up and be like, what's the point? Like I might as well sleep in and then them just wake me up. So that whole like when you have a system and it's somewhat working well and then it just gets destroyed, you're like, all right, I guess we'll start again.
So I mean I got to know, you left in September, right? Business, how's business been? You guys went on vacation recently. How are the
Vacation?
girls?
Yeah.
Give me the updates.
Ooh, girls are getting big. Juliana, as I anticipated, is crazier than Livy, in a good way. A lot of energy. Like they're starting to. How do I put this? So, like for example, like when Callie came over, right, and they were all together, they became this like super. When the Power Rangers used to become like that super big Power Ranger, they become that because they feed off the energy.
Yep.
And it was fun to watch, but then you realize like you're outflanked. Like you're in trouble because now they're working together against you.
Matt's kids were there too, right?
Yeah. So and then you had them running around, and then like I'm really enjoying it because the baby phase. I've been very public and I get flamed for this and roasted. I'm not a big fan of the baby phase. It's tough. Baby phase is tough. There's not a lot of reward. 1.5, 2, but it's hard, but it gets a lot more fun.
Yes.
Because you have conversations, they react, they recognize you when
They're
you
not
walk
just
in the
like-
room. Oh, daddy, you know, da da da, or no, yes, like so. All that to be said, like Livy and Juliana are really getting along, and they're a little team. And sometimes, as angry as I get or frustrated Dana and I get with them when they don't listen, when they're doing it together, I get a kick out of it. When they both say no and run away, it's hilarious because you're like, no, we got to go, but no, and then
and then they go.
so that's been fun. Year one of the real estate world was a wild ride. It was, I would say 60 to 70% of business was listings. When I left my previous company and started my own firm, the listings dried up because the inventory was so tight. So we had like, I had to refocus and do a lot of buyers and investors, which is a lot more hard to control your schedule because you're at the mercy of your buyers and your investors. So that with 2 young kids, you know, the stress of telling Dana, hey, I got to run out for 3 hours. I'll be back. You know, I have this report I got to get done. You know, I was putting in, and I still am. So say the day starts at 7 with the kids. Kids are at school by 9. Start working from 9 to 5. Kids get home at 5. Kids go down at 8:39 maybe after you do bedtime, and then back in the office from 9 to midnight, if not longer. Wow. And that was every day for the first year. So that was wild.
And that's basically to pay the bills, right?
So not another real estate show was this like another wrinkle I threw out there because I wanted to track the reality of like, all right, we're starting a company. It's not from scratch technically, but our own firm to be able to either look back for new fans to kind of like, hey, I discovered them in year 3 and now I'm watching them in year 1, like not doing them a lot of business. And it's fun to see the trajectory. So we made a decision to get very public about volume of sales, which adds another element of like, we're putting everything out there for people to be critical and potentially judge the volume in a very competitive market, right? So we ended up doing just under $13 million in volume, which sounds like a lot, but in Greenwich, it's nothing. People do $100 million deals.
Right.
So that was like a tough, hey, we're being public, so you got to go out and get this business in a hard market because you committed to telling people how much volume you're selling. So that was like an added pressure I didn't need to do.
Right.
But I think it helped because I'm like, I don't want to embarrass myself. So like, let's really put our foot in the gas and try to sell some houses, you know? So year 1 was wild. Year 1 was wild with the family, the business. I'm happy I did it, but it was a tough year.
Yeah.
It was very hard.
So the start of year 2, I guess let's talk about you making the decision to leave the podcast. Obviously, a tough decision, but at that time, I understood fully, and I understand obviously the sacrifice that you had to make to put the energy into the podcast. Was this more because I think this is valuable to people, right? When you have all these commitments in life, right? It's you have to see what's obviously bringing the most value to you. And at that moment, was it more of like a mental release for you to get rid of something that, you know, you're putting in a lot of mental work to?
Yeah.
And then has that allowed you the freedom to build things out the way that you need to build them out?
So it was a couple things. I felt like I was holding you guys back because of my schedule, right? And your approach and what you wanted to do, I agreed with, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. If that makes sense.
Like in what way?
So when we first started, I remember we had the conversation where I'm like, you guys should have your own brands.
Yes.
Because there's going to be things that you want to do, like public speaking. You enjoy it, right? I don't think I'll ever do any public speaking because it's not something that I enjoy doing, look forward to. You know, I've given best man speeches and they've done fine. It's just not
They've been phenomenal.
They've been good.
They've been great.
But that format for me, like not something in the future I see. Like when I look at the vision of what I'm trying to build, that's not really involved.
Yep.
Right. So there's nothing wrong with that. But when I thought through everything, I said, all right, you know, Dave and Claudio and I have built this thing. I think it can go to another level, but I don't think me being here helps it get it there, A. And then B, I don't think it's something that if we started making a fortune on No Snooze, I'd still do the real estate thing.
Right.
Like my real passion, my vision, what I want to do, and like the whole reason I started everything was for the real estate. So when it came to that, it was a situation of like, all right, selfishly, I need the mental capacity to put everything into this one thing. And there are things that shoot off it, like the food show, like other things that we do, but it's all under the real estate umbrella.
Right.
And No Snooze helped that, but was very kind of, it was another thing on the side of it, right? Like it didn't completely add to it, align.
Yeah.
Good word, align. So selfishly it was that. And then unselfishly it was like, well, I need to step back because I know they want to take it to the next level. And I don't want to see my friends struggle with it because of my schedule or my lack of wanting to do the things that they want to do, which will help.
Right.
So
Now, when do you think is the right time to do that? Because I think a lot of people get into this. Like, I think a lot of people have side businesses that they do with friends. And like, there's always the thought, I'm sure even for CV for a long time, he's like, damn, man, we're not really making the money that we want to make here. Like, this is a lot of effort. He happens to enjoy this whole production scene, which is great. So he gets that fixed there. But I'm curious, I guess, what would you say, when is the right time to do that? So, like to bow out or something, you know?
Yeah. So the hard thing for me is I think I can do everything. So when someone comes to me with a project, I'm like, yeah, I could do that. Like, no problem. And then the reality of the kids, and especially two, once we had two, I was like, my life's never the same as far as it's the best thing we ever did, because now it's a lot easier for me to say no to things, because when I say yes, I'm taking time away from them.
Right. So
whatever I'm doing, I'm like, I'm going to do it. Else it's a waste of time and I'm wasting my time with my kids, right? So once we had the second, then I had to really think about it. I'm like, all right, I can't do everything. I have a limited amount of energy. Where am I going to put my energy? Then it was like, all right, am I overly stressed about this thing? And does it contribute to what I'm building? Or am I just doing it because I don't want to let people down? And that realization of like, I'm doing it right now and I'm not putting a lot of energy into it because I don't have the time to do it. And I feel like I'm just doing it because I'm afraid to tell Dave and Claudio, like, I don't have the time anymore. And it's not something that I can commit to at the cadence that it needs to grow. So I think I've said in the podcast a bunch of times, when I have the same thought over and over in a situation, you got to change something.
Right.
And the thought kept being like, damn, like I'm late to go to the podcast. I have so much work to do. I need to do this other stuff. Like, it just became a burden.
That's the word I was looking for.
On my mental state, physical state, like it all became a burden not in a positive way. Whereas I'm like, we started it and I had a lot of fun with it. And that fun is being overshadowed by when you hit record, I always had fun. It's not like I didn't enjoy it.
But
like,
the whole leading up to it, the night before.
Like, I felt bad when you guys were like, what do you want to talk about? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I have so much, like, I just felt like I wasn't giving it the attention that it needed, especially knowing where you guys wanted to take it. So, for me, it was a fed up moment personally, where at one morning I was like, I got to talk, I can't do this anymore.
And now take us through because I think a lot of people have that same thought. Like, even me, I've quit things in the past, stopped doing them because it becomes a burden, right? But we're also so fearful as human beings of other people's reactions to things, even when we know that you knew that this was the right decision for you, right? You needed it. But then to see us basically, because if you really love somebody and you have love for somebody, you're gonna be supportive. Like, even if like, you're my right hand, well, left, I guess, on this show, but my right hand man when it comes to the show. But if I really want the best for you and I'm truly understanding of the other stress factors in your life, of course I'm gonna support you. And CV, of course, he's gonna support you, right? So I think that was a good, I guess, lesson just for us too. Like, and any human being in general, your thought of how people are going to react, it's not reality most of the time.
No.
Right? Like, you were scared of this in your own mind, and not scared like I'm going to beat you up. I mean,
no. I didn't want, the biggest thing, I didn't want you guys to take it the wrong way. Like I wasn't quitting on you guys. I honestly thought I was taking a step aside to let you guys do whatever you wanted to do, because like the interview approach, right? The biggest stress in my life is scheduling.
Right.
I don't even know how many clients I have at the moment, but like just getting my schedule for a weekend and making sure I set up time and tell Dana, and then be like, all right, Sunday, for example, I had an inspection that popped up out of nowhere because we got an accepted offer. I'm at the inspection from 9:30 in the morning to noon or whatever, 12:30. Then I was like, Dana, I really want to come home and go to the candy ice cream shop with the kids, because I want to like do stuff with them if I'm really busy. Oh yeah, tell them, so hey, I'm on my back for inspection. Let's go to the candy shop, and then I gotta go back out for another showing at 3:30, right? So then I go to the candy shop, back to a showing. Then, all right, Dane, like, I want to take Livy out to the movie. Like, when I get out of my inspection, I'll come pick her up. We'll meet you guys for dinner. So like, just the day-to-day of the scheduling. And then the thought of like, oh my God, then in addition, I'm going to have to work with your two schedules, a random guest, not random, but
guest, of course.
And then squeeze that in. And then there's a chance that an inspection will pop up and I got to drop it all for, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like that whole domino of scheduling was so overwhelming to me. And every time you guys were like, what are you, I always shut it down. I'm like, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I got it. And I think it's a great conversation.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Do you think the timing, I probably in hindsight, I'm guessing, when I first said it, you guys were both, it seemed like you guys were relieved. Not in a bad way. I didn't take it a bad way, but it seemed like you guys were like, all right, we know what we got to do now, so let's go do it. Did it seem that way?
Yeah, the only thing for me that I knew, and it became evident over some time, was the fact that it was becoming more of a burden to you.
Yeah, which we kind of talked about earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then we would work through it,
Yep,
then I think it just became too much of a stress. Whereas something like this, I personally, when I'm here, I leave here and I really feel inspired. I feel bad thinking like you would leave here and be like, oh my God, I got to go to the next thing. I got to go to this.
Yeah.
You know,
my focus wasn't here.
Right.
So it wasn't like I didn't enjoy it while I was here, but as soon as it ended, I'm like, wow, I'm really behind. That was like the thought.
Right.
You know?
But I think for us, it became evident. You know what I mean? So then when you said it, we were like, oh, we already know it's okay. But now it did give us the flexibility of being like, okay, well, the only thing that I will say was CV and I had to sit down real quick because what I didn't want to do was have a lapse in content, a lapse in time. Yeah. You know how I roll.
You guys did a good job with that, by the way.
You know what I mean? Like I kind of went into like, oh my! Do you even remember the conversation, CV? I don't even remember how it went down.
Was it?
But I remember being like, "Yo, we need a shift. I'm gonna start reaching out like immediately to at least for the next few weeks. I'll book some guests to give us some time." Yeah. Then I think the first episode we did, ironically, was with Sean Degnan, right? Yeah. Yep. And that episode, I remember CV being like, "Yo, you might have found your new co-host." I'm like, "Well, I don't think we want to co-host anymore."
Yeah. Dave, don't say it like that in front of him. Come on, man.
Not at all. No,
his replacement.
No, but because my point is that's where the mindset was. No Snooze was always a two-man show. So to you were like, "Oh, you found somebody that you can probably go back and forth."
And I don't take any in because remember in the convo when I talked to you guys when I told you I would be leaving, I said I'm like, here's some people that I think would be great, right? Because of the vibe that you got. You know? So I wasn't like expecting you to have the seat empty with a picture of me when you had, you know what I mean?
But also, you do have to, like, that was I didn't even think about stopping the podcast. To me was no option. So it was okay, what's the first action? We always talk about action, right? What's the first action that I can take? And at least what I can do is go through my immediate network and book some guests for the next couple weeks.
And you guys were part of the reason too I thought it was good timing is because I knew you guys were prepared as far as like you had all these ideas of guests.
Right.
I just stopped it.
Right.
So like once we said that, I'm like, I know they're gonna probably do something to that extent.
And again, like I think the thought process for me was, I see No Snooze as a big brand, right? And I see it like, us doing live shows and doing all that stuff. But to get there, I do think there's something to be said about incorporating the local world, right? So like I at first, when I think of guests, I'm like, oh, the typical thought would be like, how many followers they have? What's their, how do they dominate their market? Blah, blah, blah. Whereas I didn't do that. I looked at more of like people's stories versus their following. Right? Like Sean Degnan's episode, dude. Yeah. He doesn't have a huge following in terms of the number on Instagram. He's got a couple thousand, which is great. Yeah. But he owns 4 businesses. Yeah. His impact and his direct network is humongous. Yeah. To be able to fill a room with 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 dudes at the snap of a finger, you got some influence, right? Yeah. So when I saw the numbers even of the people that were reposting and listening to that podcast specifically, I was like, oh, this is we're onto something.
You know how I feel about like being local and stuff. I think it was smart because you guys pulled local people. Right. So then the people that know them, so you're getting like a good concentration of fans.
Exactly.
Or followers, whatever you want to call the people, the snoozers. No snoozers. So no, I thought it was good. CV, what was your reaction immediately? Were you like, oh shit, the star's gone?
I was like, thank God we can move. No, I don't know. It was a little sad because it's something that you started together. And it was kind of like, what do we do now? You know? And I mean, he's kind of more saying it more eloquently, but it's like, what's the first thing you're gonna do? Yeah. We're not gonna sit here and mope. Yep. So it's like, you take action. So I think it's even how I think too. Is like, you solve the problem, just kind of keep it moving.
Yep.
And then
And it
deal
was
with
good that
as
you guys
go,
kept
you
it
know?
moving because it was like, I don't think you missed a beat.
But I'll tell you this though, it's easy for me though. I just have to hit record and just be here.
Yeah.
You know, this guy has more of he has a little bit more on his plate to have to figure out
100%.
you know, guests and the networking, and that's something that he's strong at that I'm not.
Yeah.
So that I would have been like, oh.
But personally, I think when it happened, I was like, yeah, once they get the guests, he's going to be, because you enjoyed the interviewing before. Like when we initially started, we did the guests.
Yes, we did.
And I thought they went well.
Yeah. Yep.
For me, I wasn't into it because I'm
Right.
like, I don't want to talk to guests. Like I don't want to do the research on the people.
Mhm.
I was very like black and white about it. Not that I wasn't interested in the people. I just didn't have the time to give
100%.
it. So when I rolled in, I was like, I don't know what the hell this person does. Or whatever. And then when we talked to him, I felt guilty of like, I didn't respect your time.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
No.
So I know how you prepare for that stuff. So I was like, oh, they're going to.
And that's the thing. I leaned on, I guess, my resources, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
my personal skills, which is that like I can interview anybody like that. I just need to, you know, I do need to look up
Excuse me.
certain things, and I like to be knowledgeable prior to an episode because I like asking intriguing questions that are gonna give answers to where it's not your typical answer. Like I'm gonna make you think a little bit.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that back and forth with people. But I think for me, at first, I was like, okay, well, the goal of the show is to continue to move at this point.
Yeah.
Right. So what's the best way to do that? And I think it was that local market, and it's something that I think we're not really going to get away from until you start taking those, you know, trips. You start doing live shows. You can bring on people. So I think the vision is global, but the action is local.
Well said.
Does that
Well,
make
it starts
sense? You know
local.
what I mean?
Everything starts local.
Yeah, but you have to really, because people will say, and I
Someone
keep saying,
says that. Someone says like, "Oh, you want to do all this?" Like, does everyone in your town know who you are?
right?
And they're like, "No." It's like, then why would everyone in the world know who you are?
Exactly.
You know, we
I
gotta
also
start
think
somewhere.
though the local though is relative, right? So local right now means maybe this our
Oh,
area,
and
as you get bigger, as the
It
show gets
expands.
bigger,
Yeah.
your local starts kind of getting wider and wider
Yeah.
until the point
Yeah.
you are kind of global, because then you are an image that is recognized.
Right.
You know,
Are you looking to elevate your brand with captivating visuals and immersive sound? Look no further than the home of the No Snooze podcast, Kai Visions Productions, your go-to destination for cutting-edge audio and video production. At Kai Visions, we don't just create content, we create experiences that leave a lasting impact. From podcasts, YouTube variety shows, sleek corporate videos, to attention-grabbing promotional campaigns, our team of experts is dedicated to turning your vision into reality. Choose Kai Visions for a production experience like no other. It's time to make your brand known. Contact us today at kaivisions@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Kai Visions. Kai Visions Productions, where audio-visual excellence meets innovation. Now, back to the epi.
So you know the guy Chris Williamson? You ever listen to him?
No. I don't
He's
think so.
you would know him
Chris
if you
Wi-
saw
if I
him.
saw his
He's
face,
got an
yeah.
accent.
Chris Williamson.
He has a podcast. I don't even know what it's called, but I don't.
Shout out.
No,
C. Willie.
because I listen sometimes to stuff and like I see him, but I don't even know what it's called. He was a club promoter, and his whole thing was like, all right, well, if you're promoting a club, you're selling people on who's in the club, right? You're not selling the
Right.
club, you're selling on the scene at the club.
Mm.
And he related that to building out a following. He's like, if everyone in your town is in this club, wouldn't you want to be like, why am I not in this club,
Mhm.
right? So like your approach, the new approach of being being more locally based, and maybe it's not Justin Bieber you're interviewing, but it's
Right.
a local,
Right.
you know, celebrity, whatever you want to call the local people. Sean knows everyone. Similar to you, Tony knows all the people you've had are very well connected. It makes sense. It's like you get people into this club, and then the club just keeps growing.
Right.
Right. So
And then also it was like, all right, trying to figure out other ways to now bring in some revenue for the podcast.
Yeah,
We all got
yeah.
to a point that we're like, yo, like, you know, we've been, okay, we're consistent now. Like, let's now monetize. Whereas my thing, we always would go back and forth, you and I, on that.
So it's funny because when you guys rolled out the event, I had anxiety about the event because of the sausage party I did last
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
It was a huge success,
Yeah.
but the stress of pushing tickets,
Right.
it's full time. Like you have to keep
100%.
reminding people, you have to be coordinating. There's variables, and it's very like it's it lasts more than that event, but it's so much effort for that one point in time.
Yes.
That even in my conversation with the Tell Mike Senior team is like, listen, I'm not doing that again, because I can't control my time well enough. I'm not going to do events in the future. If anything, I'll have a pop-up at my office that is very controlled. And if it rains, it rains, but I'm not on the hook and putting a lot of money up front for something that is a big variable. So I'm not saying it's not the right model, but for me, in the day-to-day of the stress of selling real estate, I can't add the stress of hosting events, right?
And then also like this ticket, right?
Yeah.
The cheap ticket is $750 for 3 days. So our ticket price. So this is a 3-day event, right?
Okay.
Our ticket price was $750 for a day pass.
A day,
One day pass. No, a 3-day pass.
Are you snuggling with the people too for a
day pass? And then the expensive ticket was a $3,500 ticket.
Holy!
But think about it. All your meals are included.
But Joe Girardi's gonna be there.
Joe Girardi's keynoting.
How'd you get that? How'd you get Joe?
So connections.
That's cool.
But also then, we got to jump on a call and you got to pitch them because you can get in the door.
Yeah.
But they're not just going to do you a favor if they don't believe in what it is that you're doing.
You got to
right?
close them.
So think about this though, like how this all,
pretty cool.
How this all transpired is basically I do an episode with Tony Peck.
Yeah.
Right. This woman, Steph Madonia Bakery on Arthur Avenue, reaches out. Right.
Yeah. Delicious, by the way. Delicious.
And Steph, I actually didn't even see the DM.
Didn't someone bring Madonia cookies or something to us one time?
Madonia's been
what's the two girls? Remember the two women that we had on the podcast?
Oh yeah, was that from Madonia's?
I think they brought Madonia.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
So she actually reaches out.
I could be lying.
And I didn't see the DM. Like it kind of went to that weird, stupid hidden spot, on Instagram. That
I hate that.
First of all,
and sometimes they're great.
It just doesn't make sense. Well, because I missed a real opportunity.
Yeah,
here.
it's requests or something.
So Steph was following the podcast, and she re-listened when Sean and I happened to drop the episode.
Okay.
I didn't answer her DM. She DM'd Sean and is like, "Hey, I just listened to the No Snooze podcast with you and Dave. I think you guys are onto something." Sean posted a story on Instagram that said, "Would anybody be interested in a men's retreat?" Really got some good traction. Sean would send me screenshots. Yo, I think people are into this. Like, we can do this. Steph is like, "Hey, I have a 160-acre property that I manage in New Paltz, New York. Okay. This might be a really good thing."
Yeah.
2 weeks later, we end up going to see this property.
When you say she manages it, what does that mean?
So she's the founder of Keep Becoming Events.
Okay.
Which is an event company, and she now has added this property to her repertoire of access for events.
Oh, it's pretty organic. Yeah.
Right?
Pretty cool.
So she was like, "Hey, I want to be involved on a partner level pretty much. So, we'll work something out financially in terms of getting this place, but I can get you a really good price on this 160-acre property. Still thousands of dollars, but
still.
For what it is in relation,
it's not bad. Yeah.
So we go see this property, and the ironic thing is I was saying I feel like I'm supposed to be here. But you're sitting on 160 acres with 4 or 5 houses, CV?
Did you have a cowboy hat on?
I mean, just the most, talk about eloquent. I mean, the marble.
That's pretty cool.
The marble, the 25-person dining room table.
Yeah, that dining room is huge.
But when I sat down, I felt like I was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
So literally that day, we lock in the place. Don't even have a concept of a cost of a ticket or this or that. Sean happens to own and operate the Sail House in Tarrytown, which is a great restaurant.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Yo, I could do the food at it's still going to cost, but we can do it at a good price."
Competitive advantage.
Which when you're running an event for 3 days, it's like, okay, well, where the hell are people going to sleep? What are they going to eat? How are we doing this? So when we broke down the cost,
chicken fingers and fries, right?
But this is the thing, we're having Joe Girardi, so we're going to be serving steak dinners.
I want you to finish this, but I got to mention real quick. I went to an event and they gave us cookies and wine, and then they pitched us on health for an hour and a half.
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
I thought it was hilarious. I told the people who organized, I said, first off, you gave me a cookie and a glass of wine, and then you told me how to be healthy after that. I'm like, that you're creating the market. Anyway, go ahead.
So
you're bringing steaks.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking really good food. This is a high-end event now that we're doing, right? So again, you can't charge a $750 day pass or a $3,000 ticket and just serve
that stresses me out.
Chicken fingers and fries.
I was when we did sausage party, I was worried. I'm like, people aren't going to think this is worth it.
The good thing is we only wanted to sell 25 tickets.
That's smart.
Because
start control.
Yeah, you're going to control the environment. You're going to get men who are invested in this, and there needs to be some level of a financial, like you need to put that money and invest in you.
Or not incentive, but
skin in the game. For yourself, skin in the game, right?
Yeah.
To hold you accountable.
Yeah.
I know just from going to Mohegan Sun with my boys for a night, I'm spending $700. So if I'm on a 3-day, right? If I'm on a 3-day retreat,
that's not the average.
That's not like the way. Yeah.
Well, think about it. Between hotel's
like 400,
dinner's $150,
right.
$200.
Yeah, when you look at it that way,
that's the thing. Like people,
it's not much of a treat.
At first, no. But at first,
that's the opposite.
You hear 3 days and you're like, oh my god, $1,500 ticket, $2,500 ticket, $3,500 ticket. Sounds expensive.
When you break it out.
But when you're getting if you're going to come to this event and you're actually going to take away the things that you can take away, this could be life changing for you.
Yeah.
It really can.
People go to events all the time for a lot more money.
Out of the 22 men that are coming now, right? We have already started to do like some data stuff. I mean, you're talking about SWAT team officers.
It's pretty cool.
You're talking about firemen. You're talking about people who own plumbing companies, towing companies, doctors of physical therapy, dentists, own and operating construction companies. When we started to break down the individual that's coming and the amount of businesses that we own as these 22 men right now, that number is in the 50s.
It's pretty cool.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like now the connections and the networking opportunities that are going to come from this and the brotherhood that you're going to build if you're all in. Now, if you come to this event and you paid the money and you want to bullshit through it, no problem.
It's like the way I saw it was like, oh, it's kind of cool. You're like going to like a basketball camp. You know, when you go to basketball camp, usually you don't know. You never been?
Yes, I know.
No, but all right. Any type of like where you stay over, you get close to people in a short amount of time,
right? Because
you're sharing in a hard experience or whatever the experience is, and then you have these inside jokes. Like even you go on a bachelor party, you've never met the people before. At the wedding, you're like, oh, what's up? Like there's that level of camaraderie that develops, which I think is super interesting. And if you have a lot of people that are on the same rowing the same way, whatever the terminology, it's pretty
and the breakout sessions that we have drafted, like it actually all came from connections through the podcast. Like we have
organic
former UFC
organic
VP Diamandia Lingo's coming, who we did a great episode with. She's going to talk about relationships with masculine and feminine energy, body inflammation. We have a men's hormone optimization session that's coming out with Christian Palmer. We have Elevate Med Spa of Greenwich coming to inject people with vitamin B12. Shout out to Melissa. We have sponsors. We have Athletic Brewing Company sponsoring the event.
Saw that too. We have Athletic Brewing in our fridge right now.
I mean,
Dana
huge.
picked it up.
Like we started with nothing, Mike. You started with a little idea.
Listen, I said, I let the balloon go and you're floating up. What do you want me to say? You're welcome.
But to think that this idea, right, is now reality, and it's happening a week from now, right? By the time this episode airs, it will already have happened. At first, and I'm still nervous.
I'm sure.
You know,
when are you guys going up?
That day, Friday.
So you're going up
Friday morning.
When do people arrive?
4:00.
Oh, in the afternoon.
Yep, 4 p.m.
And that's the day pass, or that's a week? Is everyone a weekend?
It's the whole weekend. It's
but I'm saying you had the levels.
So the day pass is you can come for 3 days to the event, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
But you just can't like staying over.
Right. But if you want to drive an hour, you can do that. Or you can
Are people doing anyone doing like the day passes?
We have not. We sold 2 day passes.
Gotcha.
But that's not really our model.
Most people are kind of
because think about it. If you're going to spend $750, if you're going to spend $750, why wouldn't you spend $1,500 and sleep there? And eat? You know what I mean?
Like a hotel,
and I get it. It's expensive, but like, why would you do that? So we had it as an option just for cost, but it like in terms of efficiency, you really want to be driving back and forth? I don't know.
I did that Mohegan Sun for the boxing match.
It's a lot
for Cordell, but he is the real deal.
He's nice,
dude. Dominant. I was exhausted though because Dev, who like promotes and she's a friend, she kept saying like you got to come see a fight, and I felt so guilty. I'm like, you know what? I could sneak up there. You know when you say I could sneak up there and then in your head like it's an hour drive, it's 2-hour drive,
right?
Hour and 45 minutes, and then I'm like, the fight probably is not that late. Fight started at midnight, right? So I got home at like 2-3, and then
how do you fight at midnight?
Yeah, that's what I said. But
sleep at midnight,
dude. He was dominant. Like he was picking the poor guy apart. Like the guy had no shot. He was trying to bully box him and like lean on him and stuff, and Cordell was just standing there like holding him up and just jabbing him and like uppercuts. It was hilarious.
He's a real beast.
It was fun to watch in person because when you see him here, you're like, oh, he doesn't look that big. And then when he's in the ring, his back's huge.
Well, how big do you think I would look in a boxing ring?
You look like a monster.
Would I look
People
like
would-
Tyson Fury? No,
No,
first
you-
of all,
you
you look
look-
like Tyson Fury. That's not me.
That's messed up. Tyson Fury? Come on. He's
look like
sloppier than me.
But he's a monster though.
But we got sidetracked. But yeah, like driving up and driving back was a nightmare.
I'm more
It
like
was.
Wilder.
Yeah, Wilder.
But
Well,
he's a
no,
big
you're
dude. No.
thick, dude. You're thick.
I think maybe
you
I
look,
should
you
do
look
this.
like Mike Tyson, basically.
Maybe I should do
in
this.
his
Do
heyday.
one fight, but I don't need contact with anybody. Just take a couple pictures.
Don't contact.
No contact.
Oh, just like
take a
stage
couple
it?
pictures and stage
Like you're
it.
shooting a movie?
You know, yeah. Give me one body shot. You know, a nice
So
little action.
I want to
shot.
get back to the event because I'm very
Go ahead.
curious. So, like, what is the level of stress? Like, I know personally, when you're leading up to an event, it's like, all right, we got to move tickets because we have money invested.
Right.
Then once you sell the tickets, in my head, I'm always like, we got to deliver now.
Yes.
Like, what do we like? What's good? But you're very good with organization,
Right.
checklists. Like, I think you're set up.
Sean has been instrumental, and so has Steph too. She's
Yeah.
basically the event. So she became the event coordinator.
Yeah.
Where
Are you
she's-
documenting all this by the way? Like, is CV going up and documenting
Yes.
all
Oh
that?
yeah.
All right,
yeah.
good.
Yeah. CV's been involved from day one. He was there with us shooting content of the property tour
Cool.
when we were up there.
But I'm
So
saying,
we
like,
have
if
all that.
once you document it once, then it makes it easier in the
100%.
future because then you have like actual.
and even for sponsorships and stuff like that.
the
it
first
makes
one's
it-
the hardest one because you have no like.
So we battled all that, but the thing that I didn't like, even when it comes to this event planning, is like there's a lot of last minute stuff, and even people signing up for tickets. You know, when you're asking that ticket price, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, and it's like, yo, man, we gotta pay Joe Girardi, like, you gotta pay this.
We got
thing.
bills,
but you don't want to look, you know, like, so that part was definitely stressful.
Yeah.
But then once we sold the tickets, we're like, okay, Sean and I personally are not in this first one to really make money, right? Like, CV's gonna get paid, the people involved are gonna get paid, all the
You're
speakers,
taking care of everyone.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like Sean and I really are not in this to make money right now.
which is, I think, the way to do it.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to. And you have to be okay with that and genuinely want to still do something. Because if you don't want to genuinely do it, then that should not be for you.
Yeah.
Right?
But, I mean, ultimately, you're going to make money in the future, but it's
Correct.
like, all right, we're figuring out the model, we're proving a concept. Yeah, it makes
Right.
sense. If you don't lose money, it's a plus.
Right. 100%.
Right? In theory.
So Sean and I actually just went up there yesterday to really map out what the outdoor activities look like, because this is a mix. Like, it's a mix of like breakout sessions where we're going to be in rooms and, you know, people are going to come speak, and you have that. Then you have your meals, you have your leisure activities, but then you have like ORTs, what we're calling it, outdoor resilience training, right? This would be perfect for you, where you're doing the cold
ice
plunges.
baths. I'm like, I'm good.
Where you're doing
Good,
the
I'm
cold
set.
plunges in an actual lake with ice. You know, Sean's,
I got to work this weekend,
Sean's
dude.
Kuko. Oh, sorry.
I'm going ice
It's
skating
unfortunate.
Saturday with the family. It's going to be bad. It's going to
You
be
can come
real
ice
bad.
skate up there, man. You could ice skate with the family while we're doing a men's retreat. So the planning.
Did you have any women that
phase-
reached out and were like, "Can I
Yes.
join?" Really?
Yes.
I could see that.
Your girl, Haven by Brooke.
Oh, Brooke?
Yes.
She looks great. Have you seen her?
Yes. So
She's
she was like,
crushing it.
"Is this only for men?" And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"It says men's
She's the best.
retreat."
We caught up with her recently because we haven't talked to her in forever.
Yep.
She looks great. She's doing great.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So you asked about the stress level, right?
Very
So the
talented,
stress level like continues to change, I think. But now, once you really embrace the fact of, no, I'm actually supposed to be leading this event. Like,
Yeah.
that was a big stressor at first for me,
Yeah.
because I'm like, wait, do people really think that I should be in this space? Like,
little
you battle
imposter
that,
syndrome.
right? You battle that. But it became very evident, and Sean does a networking dinner every month, where like we started talking about this, and men were like locked in. The
Yeah.
men that want to be there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
of course,
this is
of
not
course.
for everybody. It
No,
really is not.
it's a very specific, but I think you want that.
Yes,
you
100%.
You don't want like the half in half. You want the people that are into it.
Right.
You know?
So then the stress became like the outline of what the days look like.
Because
Like,
the day's a long time.
it sounds like it's longer than it is, though.
Like
'Cause
trying to
when
get
you say
kids.
when you say a 3-day retreat, right?
Yeah.
It sounds longer.
Sounds
but
like
really,
forever.
But really, all it is you're talking 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. on a Friday.
Okay.
Then all day Saturday. Saturday's a long day.
Long day.
It's from 6 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
But then Sunday, it's another short day. It's
Yeah.
6 a.m. till 3 p.m. departure.
Got it.
So like when you break that down and then you start plugging in your network of individuals who are going to come, Christian Palmer and Diamante Lingos, you get Joe Girardi, you
Got
get
it.
Vincent
So they're gonna be
Maselli.
different days.
Different days, right?
Yeah.
You break all this out. Then it becomes, okay, well, we got to do a workout. Boom, I'm going to lead these workouts. Okay, now we're going to do a cold plunge. Sean's going to lead you start putting that schedule together. Now that stress starts to
And then you have meals.
to
so-
subside,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Then you have to figure out, okay, what does the downtime look like? Getting 20 dudes to shower and change, like how big are the room? You know, like
How
you
many
have
showers?
you have to map all that out. But that's
Just
where
hose them
Steph,
down.
Steph was great. Jump in the lake. Jump
No,
in the
just
lake.
figure,
Right?
you put them in an ice bath. Just hose them down.
CV's coming up with podcast equipment because we're gonna
That's
do a
cool.
podcast with Girardi. Like,
Cool.
you know, all that stuff began to cause stress, but as you write it down and you actually see it come together,
Yeah.
stress levels begin to leave. Then it gets really real when you start booking Girardi's flight, because Girardi's now in Florida, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, book my car, book my flight, all that stuff. The
wild.
details start
It's
happening.
wild.
Then you have to rely on the people who gave you the commitment in terms of their speaking time, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, okay, hey, you're on for 10:30 on Saturday. Now in the back of my head, I'm like, I need you on time.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like the confirmation of reaching out, like, hey, look, this is your time slot. And then everybody has been super supportive.
Yeah.
The sponsors that are coming up and their product, because a couple of them are in-kind sponsorships, right? We have a juice company that's coming, and they're
What's in kind mean?
in kind versus money. So they said,
they're
listen,
like
we're gonna
products and stuff.
provide protein shakes for the
I
whole
actually
weekend.
prefer that.
It's good, but you need a mix of both, right?
Yeah.
Because you need to cover your costs, but also like having Living Juice come and
Yeah, it's
provide
cool.
juices for everybody for the whole weekend. That's a great sponsorship,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, are you going to be on time with the juices? And like Sean's figuring out all the food stuff. And there's so many details that are involved in this. And a lot of people like really, really excited too. Yeah. And then also my energy and Sean's energy needs to be on 1,000.
Yeah,
You cannot charge people what you're charging and have a bogus event.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the piece now that I'm so locked into and so excited for, because now once all these BS details have been worked out, now it's like Dave Regina and Sean Degnan are going to show up and we're going to show out for you.
So what I heard just now, it doesn't seem crazy as far as price because you laid out how much you're getting for that.
Right.
I don't know if you did that in the selling of the stuff because you didn't have it all lined up. But the next time you're going to have a very nice thing that you say, listen, we're going to do all this. And then this is the price, and it's a lot more digestible,
right? Versus
just throwing a number.
So the event, by the time this airs, already happened. So like again,
how'd it go?
This just
Did
went
it go
to
well. Tell
this
me.
just went to the print shop.
My ice skating went terrible.
This just went to the print shop, but I want to show like okay, so Saturday, right?
Yeah.
You have 6:15 cold water therapy.
Oh God, I'm out.
7:30 outdoor group workout. 9 a.m. breakfast. 10 shower recharge. 11:30 sound healing and meditation with Gene Gutierrez. This is just Saturday.
What's recharge? Are we having snacks? What are we?
No, shower, snacks, all that stuff. Then you go sound healing meditation. Then at 12:45 you go vitamin B12 injections with Elevate Med Spa. 1:45
AK roids.
No, bro.
It's like scheduled where people catch their
B12 injections.
Experience with steroids.
You want to be brolic or no?
I'm just kidding.
1:45 lunch and networking. 3:45 outdoor resilience training. 4:45 change for dinner, all black attire for Joe Girardi.
Cool.
6:15 building a championship team and thinking like a winner with Joe Girardi. Live podcast.
Cool.
Then 8 to 10 dinner and cigar networking. So that's just Saturday, right?
Pretty cool.
So the list of events for the 3 days, it's significant.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much you would, pay to go sit in a room, but also there's only 25 guys here. So like if you want to go talk to Joe Girardi and get a personal question
more
answered,
intimate. Yeah.
You're going to be able to do that.
The concept is, I think the angle you're taking where it's very specific to men, right? It's a very specific type of event. Like I like the specificness of it.
Right.
Like it's because what you're going to run into and we all run into is the competition, not even competition, but your podcast is up against other podcasts that are a lot more large in a sense of like, you have Alex Hormozy as the, you know what I mean? So it's like, how do you compete? Well, it's a very specific, very hands-on, in-person events type. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's smart to try to differentiate.
It was Sean gave me the confidence.
So stressful though. You like even that whole thing in my head, I'm like, no thanks.
It's a lot.
As far as like coordinating it.
Dude, and getting it all built out from scratch. I mean, CV's been in on these conversations.
It's wild.
Like
it's pretty wild.
Getting it built out from scratch, dude.
Yeah.
The same way we did the podcast. Remember we did a post like, January 6th, 2020, No Snooze Podcast is here.
Yeah.
Back in October, when Sean and I posted on Instagram, we have a 3-day men's elite training event, blah, 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 wellness, this, that. We didn't have anything. We had a place.
Sure.
We just had a place.
Yeah.
But there's something to be said about putting the shit out in the open.
Pressure.
And applying the pressure to yourself. But there was a couple points. I even said to CV, I'm like, CV, I don't know if we're going to have to extend it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if this is going through. Then go ahead, make that first payment to one of the speakers.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Once you're financially invested,
you're in. You're in. So that's kind of how it all came about.
Pretty awesome.
And again, I know now, because just looking at the men that actually signed up, I don't know everybody.
Yeah.
But I know a good portion of them.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great time, man.
Well, that's the kind of thing too, is like, you don't need, like, you're not you don't have to go the volume route for a lot of this stuff. Like you just need a certain amount of people that are into it. You know, obviously it's not for everyone, like you said. So there's certain people that are like, yeah, no thanks. But you don't need them anyway. So it's like.
And then also from a financial standpoint, again, there's a lot of costs involved.
Yeah.
But if you would have told me that you could raise $30, $40, $50,000 by having an event with selling just 25 tickets, I would be like, you're effing crazy.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've got our feet wet, again, that's not going in our pockets.
In the grand scheme of things, too, it's not that expensive compared to the other events.
100%.
Like you see like Grant Cardone events.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
a
right.
fortune.
But you get like
And you don't
I
stay
never,
over. They say
I
get your own
never would
hotel.
have thought that this was a realistic thing. And again, that money's not going in my pocket, believe me.
Yeah,
because you have expenses. But to be able to map this thing out and just through these ticket sales and these sponsorships, that number could be 150,000. Depending on how much outreach you do.
I mean, the opportunity for growth is there. Even if you kept it at 25 and just keep upping it every time, if it keeps getting better, then it's like, very cool.
I never thought I'd be in the space, to be honest with you.
You seem fired up too and excited. It kind of mix. So what I like is it's very authentic to you, right? Like you're going to have the cigar element. You're going to have the workout element. You're going to have the speaking element. Like it's all things that you enjoy and you do anyway.
Right.
And now you're just sharing it and like making it this, you know, Frankenstein of an event that is like a piece of your brain.
And I didn't even think about it like that. This episode is brought to you by Hudson Valley Teeth Whitening. Hudson Valley Teeth Whitening is an experienced teeth whitening salon where you can get up to 7 shades lighter with just a 60 or 90-minute session in a professional and relaxing setting. They offer the most superior product coupled with the highest quality of customer service available to get you instant results. Whether you have an important event to attend, such as a wedding, birthday, anniversary, interview, or you are just unhappy with the color of your teeth, this LED light technology helps whiten your teeth fast and easy. At Hudson Valley Teeth Whitening, they understand how important your smile is to you. And speaking from personal experience, you'll be guided by highly efficient staff in a relaxing environment to reach your desired shade. Let them know you're a friend of Dave's from the No Snooze podcast and connect with them at hudsonvalleyteethwhitening.com or on Instagram at HV Teeth Whitening. Now, back to the epi. I'm not drinking, though. Did you know that? I did. So I did dry January. I'm not drinking.
First off, dry January, right? If you do dry January and then you're getting hammered in February, is it worth it?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, so I just had Chris James on.
But I respect
on the podcast.
Let me say that.
No. So I had Chris James on. We've had open conversations how
100%.
I want to start changing my relationship with alcohol.
Yeah, which is good. That's
I'll go
healthy.
a whole week and I don't drink, but then on Saturday, Sunday, I'm with the boys. Easy.
My thought on all of it now is I think everyone has a unique relationship to any vice things, whatever you're doing. There's no right answer for one person.
So now I'm doubling up on B12 injections.
Hell yeah. How do we get those?
No, so honestly, with the alcohol piece, like now I did the January piece. It's so funny because last week we recorded with Chris James. Chris James basically started with dry January of last year. Didn't feel any benefits until like actually day 30, which kind of is me because the first couple of weeks I'm like, this is dumb. I feel like literally no different.
Yeah.
I just started to feel like I don't even know how to explain it. Like my
clearer.
It's a clarity piece, and shout out to Mom because she always says that. David, I'm so clear.
Yeah.
She's been 5 plus
I've heard
years,
that though. People say that.
But I'm really feeling something. I can't really identify it yet because I feel like I'm just starting to feel the benefits of not drinking. So it's like, why would I stop?
Yeah.
Right. So now I just booked a trip out of the country to Curacao.
I love how you say everything out of the country.
Out of the country.
It's just funny.
I'm so confused. They were making fun of me before because do I say confused weird?
Confused.
Confused. I'm so confused.
It's like I don't know how to explain it. It's a new.
So I booked a trip to Curacao in March.
I thought that was a drink. Isn't there blue Curacao?
Yes.
Isn't that a drink?
Yeah. So I was like, all right, like I'll reevaluate drinking then. I don't think I'm going to stop drinking forever. That's not my intention here. But it's like, why would I stop? So anyway, we're going to be offering, like there'll be some bourbon available for the boys if they want. But Daddy's not drinking. Daddy's having a B12 in his arm with a little cigar.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know. Some days I'm like, yeah, maybe I should just cut it all out. And then some days I'm like, I really do
Maybe
enjoy
I should
that.
just drink it all.
And then some days I'm like,
dichotomy.
I enjoy the bourbon. You know?
Exactly.
So I don't know. I really don't know. My whole thing with this year is like I'm trying to have more fun again. because year one was, I think I was just overly stressed all the time, and there's no space to like decompress.
Yep.
And I'm not saying going out and like, whatever it is, whatever going crazy, but even just like, oh yeah, I'll meet someone for lunch. Like, yeah, we'll go have lunch. Like I can take 30 minutes to an hour to catch up with someone, get a little energy from them, and then I'll get back to the crazy day. It's like the crazy is going to be there, whether I'm there straight through the day or I take an hour break. So that's where the clarity on, all right, if it's only going to get harder.
Right.
If that's the case, I have to find something that I can look forward to within the little days, where that's time with the kids, watching a movie, time with Dana, time with myself, and like going to do a golf simulator, like things that I would just say no to last year because I'm like, I have to make it. But then it wasn't healthy because I was just always like wound up.
Yep.
Any
new tactics in terms of how you like prioritize your time? Yeah.
It's tough. I was explaining to someone, I'm like, what they don't tell you when you start a business is it never gets easier. Your processes just get more stressed. Like in the theory, yes, you can sell more expensive homes and do the same amount of volume, but reality is it's not a linear growth like that. So you're probably going to be selling, 50% more the following year if you're growing. And if that's the case, those processes sometimes fall apart quickly because you're like, how do I show every property of, 5 listings in 1 week? So what was the original question?
How have you, any new strategies or tactics for prioritizing your time?
So,
and especially now that you've chopped one major, with the podcast, losing the podcast, that's definitely helpful in terms of priority.
But then I'm adding things, right? So like, I don't want to go into too much detail, but we're probably going to add an app at some point this year. But I found the right person to lead it so that it's not all on me to figure it out. So I would say I try to have structure as far as like, all right, I'm not going to be showing properties prior to 11 a.m. because I need to get all my calls, keep my deals moving forward. All the important money-making activities need to be done early because as the day goes on, you get more reactive. Obviously, if I have an inspection or something that's a money-making activity, I adjust that all. But, Monday, Wednesdays are typically in the office, and that's why I'm not dressed because Tuesday, Thursdays are open houses. I'm trying not to show properties when the kids are awake. So from 5 to 8:30, I try not to show anything.
5 a.m.? I don't think
5 p.m. 5 p.m. to 8:30.
I was going to say, I don't think that's a normal time to
People have requested. I've shown at 8 a.m., 7:30 in the morning. So, like, I try to, when the kids are home from whatever, or awake, so say whatever, in the morning up until 9 a.m., try not to do anything. And then at night from 5 till 8:30, try not to do any showings. Never works out perfectly, but like Wednesday today, the kids go to the in-laws. So like I will pick up either a date night with Dana or I'll show something at night because I know they're not home. So like the tactic is just I'm trying to make my schedule less stressful and not just over cram things just for the sake of cramming them and being more thoughtful of when stuff lands. So like if I have listing appointments, I'll try to land 1 a day so I can get them all done versus having 3 in 1 day.
Right.
Just because I can. All right, well, I could do it tomorrow at 5, but I really need this. Thinking through, you don't just, when you just book an appointment and then you're like, how the hell am I going to get this done?
Right.
I'm in my head first thinking, how do I get this done? And then book the appointment. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Working out of the house is hard. It's nice because I can go back in the office from 9 to 12 at night and not feel like
That's tough, though.
It's a lot.
I don't know how you do
I have
that.
coffees at 9 p.m. because I'm like, I have to knock out this report by tomorrow. And then you throw on top of it, it's rare I get a good night's sleep. So you're going to bed at midnight and then you're having a terrible night's sleep and you're up at whatever, 5:36, 7, whatever it is. But I've come to the realization like that's what it is. And my solace is I think to myself, if I can get through this when growing a family and still growing the company, like by the time it gets easier, I'm going to be a machine. So it's like, it is what it is. First year, I was kind of stressed and wrapped up in it and overthinking like, wow, you had no sleep and you have to go do a listing appointment and like, you're going to be like jittery and this and that. Whereas now I'm like, just do it, like figure it out. You've done it. It's been a year of this and it's so, So working at home's been tough. I enjoy it. The 9 to 12 is good. The big step this year is to get a physical location with the team, ideally a building, and I'm targeting Byram because I think Byram is the last location that is somewhat reasonable still that I can make a stamp on as far as turning over the market. So what I'm trying to do is get a building with Mike Parelli Grants Real Estate in it, but as an investment, have some type of kitchen. Instead of doing pop-ups elsewhere, having pop-ups out of my office. So I could tell people, hey, you make donuts, come out Saturday. I'll tell everyone, hey, from 10 to 12 donuts at the office, come by. It's a guy from Brooklyn. We're testing the market for him. Where I can control that. Mm-hmm. It's a contact with the person, and it's kind of fun. I can have the kids to my office from that time, and they can be a part of the excitement. But being boots on the ground, like you're saying, and shaking hands and networking, I want to be in the community so that when the opportunities come up, I can be involved, in the investment side personally for my clients, and then also put like a case study together of like, listen, I made a video 2 years ago that I said, Byram's going to be the Brooklyn of Greenwich. I put my money where my mouth is. I bought a building, and now we've sold X amount of properties in this area of town, and we've turned the market over, and it's like the most popular place in Greenwich as far as investment. To then upgrade to that next level where maybe someone comes to me that has a good amount of money and says, I want you to replicate this in another area, or I want you to add to what you're doing here. So it's a big chess move that I'm trying to get done this year, but it's going to be the hardest year ever because now we have 2 kids in daycare. You know, I'm running my own company, all those expenses. We have a restaurant guy, Kyle, that we partnered with. That's kind of the commercial. He's like my commercial arm that I'm helping build out with him. I have Greg. So that's one. Greg, who's like admin, part-time real estate broker kind of strategy with me on the residential side. He does other stuff too, but that's kind of the general. We have social media where she's part-time, but she's like all in. We have Ashley. We have Chris, who's the video guy, who's all in, but he's part-time. And then I'm adding either as a partner, collaborator, a app, website kind of person to kind of see that. So we have 6 or 7 people that we're working with. But at the end of the day, the numbers we're coming out with are solely driven by me. So it's like, if we're not doing well, there's no one to like point a finger to, you know? Or if like they don't have their marching orders, there's nothing.
Oh man, you're a visionary, my brother. You always have been. So, and you know, I'm always rooting for you, always in your corner.
The problem is, like you said, you put it in public, and then you're like, how am I going to go do this? You know?
Well, it's funny because people only go off of what they see too, right? Yeah, so until you hear all of the things behind the scene that you're already taking action on, nobody knows that, right? But that's why content is so important because it keeps you relevant with your vision. Yeah, you know, for all of us, like we can have all these great ideas, but if we're not putting that out there, like 2 years ago, you put out a great video. Yeah, you know what I mean? Now you're taking all the steps that you can connect that video from 2 years ago and be like, look, I bought this fucking building. I did this. I did that.
Well, it's all storytelling. So the magic of like even this podcast is someone can go back to episode 1 and be, wow, they came a really long way. And then they could either find inspiration from it. They can just enjoy being a part of it and be like, people like to discover things. Right. So like part of the magic of what I'm trying to do and what you're doing here as well is like telling the narrative of not a rags to riches, but a growth and like a success story. Right. Because everyone loves to follow a success story and feel like they contributed to it. You know, so that's the lens I try to keep everything I'm doing is like the people that have been rocking with you from the beginning, those are your diehard people. Yes. That like they enjoy telling people, I used to listen to them when they were like nothing. Yes. You know, or I watched him do the food show when like no one knew who he was and now he's everywhere, you know? So that's fun. I like that. That's a good part of it. And I think it's hilarious when people are like, oh, you're the food guy or whatever. I know even people still like no snooze and it's a fun little, but it's the pressures of creating something out of nothing, as you guys know. There are no rules. There's no game plan. So it's a lot of mental energy to figure out what direction you want to take something and commit to it and then trust that it's the right direction. Right? And knowing when to switch. If you even switch. If you switch. Yeah. Yep. You know, so sorry I interrupted you. That was my last. No, I like it, man. Listen, I want you back every couple months, man.
I like the.
This is
I
the
like
other
the
thing,
cash out.
strategy-wise. I'm trying not to overcommit to things because I say yes to everything, and then I'm like, how the hell? Like last week was wild. I said yes to basically all the events,
Everything.
and I did it all.
Yeah.
But at the end of the week, I was like, holy hell.
No, it's just good to. It's, obviously, we'll get lunch and stuff, but it's good to catch up in this format, man.
I appreciate you guys having me. You know, sometimes you have a little breakup, and then all of a sudden it's like, go to hell.
Go to hell.
But
No,
you guys
listen,
have been very gracious about all of it, which I appreciate.
always, man, and we're always rooting for you. We're always in your corner.
Likewise. Good luck at the event. I know it's happened
Thank you, my
technically, but you know,
it's done. It's
make sure
already-
the B12 doesn't get mixed up with some other stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh, listen, man.
Or maybe do it. People be like, I had the best workout of my life.
injecting C4 into people.
It's optional. It's like B12 or
or you want the good stuff.
yeah.
Do you remember our closeout, man? Can I put you on the spot here?
I've listened. CV has done a great job. So as a guest, I will respectfully decline.
You decline.
and let him rock with it.
Okay.
You know, it doesn't feel right.
That doesn't
You know what I
feel
mean?
right. Michael Parelli, I'm very grateful.
Wait.
for you, man.
I'm more than happy
very-
to let you rock out one more time.
Listen,
For good
it's-
old, you know.
I feel like it's a passing of the torch. Like
The
I
question
watched.
is, do you remember your lines?
Yeah,
up?
I
That
don't.
was
I
always
don't.
a-
I don't. I watched Ric Flair's documentary last night before bed, Nature Boy.
I don't know.
Oh, that's You don't know who that is?
No.
Oh my god. Oh, this guy.
He was a wrestler.
I'm
Yes,
I'm
he
done.
was-
Hey.
That's enough.
WWE,
Close enough.
WWF, back in the day.
No, it's something poetic about passing the torch. It's nice.
All
You
right,
did
so
your
the torch has been passed.
not that I'm like this big, but you feel like you did your part and it's moving on without
Nice,
you.
yeah.
And Air Bud, go play
Go
basketball.
Guys, whether you listen to one episode or 176 with Michael the Show, Parelli, we're very grateful for you guys. Keep sharing the show. We're continuing to grow because of you, and we, again, are very grateful for you. As always, you can shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. And until next time, stop snoozing.
Get up and get after it.
Michael the Show
You
is
did.
back,
Nice job.
baby.
That was
He
good.
did.
Good.
Very nice. Awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in. That's another epi in the books. You can follow us on Instagram at No Snooze Podcast and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze. Shop the latest merch at nosnoozeshop.com. Come on.